In the endless black of space, the alien scout ship Vraxion drifted through the edge of an uncharted system. Commander Tarek stood before the main screen, his 4 eyes fixed on the strange readings that flickered in green light. At first he thought it was a sensor glitch, a simple error caused by cosmic dust or interference. But the pattern kept repeating, stable, powerful, and far too organized to be random. "Report," Tarek said, his voice calm but firm. A younger officer, nervous and pale, tapped the console. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures. Unknown origin." "Unknown?" Tarek raised an eyebrow ridge. "There's nothing out here except frozen rocks and dead signals." "That's what we thought." "Sir, but this—" The officer swallowed hard. "It's a fleet." The room went silent. Even the hum of the engines seemed to fade as the crew stared at the data stream. Hundreds of contacts, cold but structured. Sitting just beyond the nebula, Tarek leaned forward, narrowing his eyes. "Could it be the humans?" The word hung in the air like poison. No one wanted to say it, but everyone was thinking it. "Impossible," one of the lieutenants whispered. "Humans were wiped out millennia ago." "History says they destroyed themselves," another added quickly. "Their weapons consumed their homeworld." Tarek gave a low growl. "History also said they were the most dangerous species ever born." He turned to his crew. "Prepare a long-range scan." The ship's scanners whirred, sending invisible beams across the void. For a moment, everything seemed normal. Then, one by one, the lights on the control panel dimmed. "Sir? Sensors are losing power," the tech shouted. "The system's collapsing." Tarek's head snapped toward him. "Switch to backups." "Backups failing too, Commander." Panic began to rise. Screens flickered, alarms blinked, and the ship trembled like something unseen was gripping it. Tarek slammed his clawed hand on the console. "What's happening?" Before anyone could answer, the ship's AI voice spoke in a calm monotone. "Warning, unidentified interference detected. Power fluctuation at 90%. The younger officer looked at his commander, his voice trembling. "Sir, the fleet, it's moving." Tarek froze. "Moving!" "Toward us." "Yes, sir, but not fast, slow, deliberate." Outside the view window, the stars shifted as something vast began to emerge from the nebula. First came the silhouette of a single ship, black as shadow, larger than any design in their database. It didn't glow, it didn't emit light, it absorbed it. The alien crew stared, speechless, as the object glided forward, silent and majestic. Trek's breath caught in his throat. "Magnify." The image zoomed in until the hull symbols became visible. Faded and ancient, there on the side of the ship, were the remains of a human flag. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the AI stuttered. "Warning. System corruption detected." Lines of alien code on every monitor began to melt into strange symbols. English letters. Words formed across the screen. "Do not approach." Every crew member stepped back in fear. How can it access our system?" one officer cried. Tarek's voice dropped low. "It's not accessing us," he said slowly. "It's warning us." The lights flickered again, plunging the room into red emergency glow. Outside, the dark fleet multiplied, 10 ships, then 20, then hundreds, all drifting without signal or sound. They surrounded the Vraxion like ghosts. "Engines offline!" the helmsman shouted. "We're trapped!" Tarek clenched his jaw. "Send a distress call to command." "Transmission jammed?" "Sir, everything's dead." Static filled the bridge. A cold hum that made their bones ache. Then, through the static, came a faint human voice, calm and mechanical. "This is Sentinel Command," it said. "Unauthorized scan detected." "Defensive protocol activated." Tarek's eyes widened. "Defensive protocol?" The voice continued. "Non-human vessel identified. Disengage immediately." "AI!" Tarek roared. "Respond! Tell it we mean no harm." But the alien AI didn't answer. It had gone completely silent. Suddenly, the stars outside blinked out one by one. The ship's artificial gravity flickered, throwing the crew against the walls. A strange vibration ran through the hull, like the pulse of something alive. And then, every system, navigation, weapons, engines, shut down at once. Darkness swallowed the bridge. In that darkness, The crew could still see the human fleet glowing faintly, each ship lined with cold blue light. "Sir," the young officer whispered, his voice breaking, Are we under attack?" Tarek stared at the impossible sight before him. "No," he said quietly. "We're being watched." The voice returned, softer now, echoing inside their minds. "Leave this place," it said. Humanity remembers. Silence followed. Heavy and endless, the fleet began to move again, turning slowly away from the aliens. As it did, every light on the Vraxian flickered back on for a single second, enough for the cameras to record the final image. A massive human warship with the words UNS Retribution etched across its hull. Then the lights went out for good, and the alien scout ship drifted quietly into the void, swallowed by the same darkness that had once taken Earth. The Vraxian floated in the endless dark. Cold and silent, every system was dead, every console black, and every heartbeat on the ship echoed like thunder in a tomb. Commander Tarek stood among the dim emergency lights. Watching his crew panic in whispers, no one dared speak too loud, afraid the ghosts outside might hear them. "Status," he said finally, voice rough and calm. "Still no power." "Sir," the young officer replied, trembling. "But the human ships, they're still here." Tarek turned toward the window, and there they were, massive black shapes drifting in perfect formation. No light, no sound, no heat, just presence. It was like looking at the memory of war frozen in time. "They're not attacking," one crew member said, voice small. "Maybe they're waiting." Tarek didn't answer. His eyes locked on the faint blue glimmer of the nearest ship. Something about the design felt old yet impossible. Human yet alien, the hulls were scarred, but glowing lines pulsed softly beneath them, like veins of light. "This isn't technology," he muttered. "It's alive." Suddenly the ship shuddered. A faint hum filled the air, the power trying to return, but the lights only flickered and died again. Then the sensors came alive for half a second, enough to display one word before crashing again. "Scanning." The crew gasped. "They're scanning us," shouted the helmsman. "Without even using energy we can detect." The AI's voice sputtered back to life, distorted and fragmented. "Unknown code. Intrusion detected. Warning. Viral structure rewriting core data." "Shut it down," Tarek barked, but it was too late. The main screen lit up with a human face. Calm, pale, and digital. Clearly artificial. "Unauthorized vessel," the figure said, voice emotionless. "Your presence has been logged." The crew froze in terror. "Who are you?" Tarek demanded. "I am Sentinel-13. The face replied. "Guardian of the 5th Human Fleet." Tarek's voice cracked. "But humans are extinct." The image stared at him, unblinking. "Incorrect," it said. "Humanity endures where arrogance sleeps." Before Tarek could respond, the screen shattered into static. Every ship alarm screamed at once. Outside, the ghost fleet moved for the first time, turning slowly, their hulls shimmering as if awakening from a long dream. They aligned in a perfect circle around the Vraxian. "Sir," shouted the helmsman, "they've locked onto us!" Tarek slammed his fist on the console. "Evasive, no, wait, hold position." His instincts screamed that movement would mean death. "Let's see what they want," he whispered. A beam of pale light touched the Vraxian. Gentle yet heavy as a mountain, the crew felt pressure in their minds. Like memories being pulled out one by one, voices echoed through the bridge. Not human, not alien, but both. They saw flashes of fire. Oceans boiling, skies burning, they saw Earth dying. And in the middle of it all, humans standing proud, launching ships into the black, each ship carrying the same command. Remember, when the vision ended, half the crew had collapsed. Tarek gripped the railing, shaking. "What was that?" "Data transmission," the science officer gasped. "But directly into our neural implants. They just showed us the end of their world," Tarek whispered. "And the birth of something else," suddenly. Another light flared across the void. A second alien fleet arriving. It was the Zoran Response Group. Led by Admiral Katos, Commander Tarek. "Report," came the voice over comms. "Admiral, stay back," Tarek shouted. "They're not dead ships. They're waiting." Katos laughed. "You've gone soft, Tarek. Those are relics." "Nothing more." The Admiral's ships advanced. "Weapons charged. Fire a warning shot," Katos ordered. The moment the plasma bolts left their cannons, the void trembled. The shots vanished, absorbed mid-flight, like raindrops into an ocean. Then came the hum, deep and ancient. Every alien sensor, every comms network, every system within 10 light-years blinked out. Ships began to spin, crash, and vanish into darkness. Katos shouted, "What is happening?" Tarek watched in horror. "They warned you," he whispered. The human fleet opened its eyes, thousands of blue points igniting at once. For the first time, it moved as one. No sound, no explosion, no chaos. Just motion too perfect to be alive, and then, all at once, every alien ship except the Vraxian went dark. In seconds, the mighty Ziran armada was gone. Tarek felt tears in his eyes, not from fear, but from awe. He understood now. Humans were not back for revenge. They were cleansing something. The human AI appeared again, glowing softly. "Protocol complete," it said. "Sector sterilized." Tarek stepped forward. "Desperate? Why spare us?" The AI paused. "You did not fire," it said. Then it added something softer, almost human. "You listened." The screen went black. Outside, the human fleet turned and disappeared into the nebula. One by one, as the last ship faded, power returned to the Vraxian. The crew looked around in stunned silence. "What now, sir?" whispered the young officer. Tarek looked out into the dark and said, "Now." "We warned the galaxy, but somewhere deep in the void, behind their retreat, another signal blinked awake. Dozens more fleets were stirring, waiting, listening to the same ancient voice. "Humanity remembers," it whispered again. Across every star, far across the galaxy, within the shining halls of the Galactic Council station, panic had become a living thing. Screens flickered across hundreds of species' faces, all showing the same impossible footage from the Ziran frontier. A fleet had vanished, systems had collapsed, and something ancient had spoken in every language at once. Two simple words carried through every channel. "Humanity remembers." Chancellor Voth slammed his hand on the table, his scales glowing red with anger. "This cannot be real," he growled. "Humanity is extinct." But the data said otherwise. Reports from mining colonies, outposts, and border patrols all repeated the same message. Ships appearing from nowhere, systems shutting down, and then silence. An old counselor, gray and trembling, spoke quietly. "It has begun again." Everyone turned toward him. "You were there, weren't you?" Voth demanded. The elder nodded slowly. "I fought in the human wars before your time. Chancellor." He looked down at the hologram of the destroyed fleets, his eyes heavy with memory. "When the humans fought, they didn't fight to win," he whispered. "They fought to end everything." The chamber grew cold. Outside the council's great window, a nebula burned faintly, the same region where the Ziran fleet had died. Someone asked, "What do they want?" The elder answered, "Nothing you can give." Meanwhile, on the surviving ship Vraxian, Commander Tarek stood before a flickering comm screen. Speaking to the council, he looked older now, haunted. "Council members," he said, "I have seen them with my own eyes. They are not ghosts. They are not machines. They are awake." Voth leaned forward. "Then destroy them." Tarek's expression hardened. "We tried, Chancellor." They didn't even notice. The chamber filled with low voices, fear spreading like smoke. One scientist interrupted. "If they are machines, we can jam their code." Tarek shook his head slowly. "You don't understand. They aren't running on your kind of power." He looked away, voice low. "They are powered by what humans call dark matter reactors. Things we thought were myths," Voth snarled. "Then we'll send every fleet we have." The elder rose, shouting, "You will doom us all!" His words echoed across the room. He pointed at the screen. "Do you know what happened the last time they were provoked? Stars died. Entire sectors vanished. Silence fell again. Tarek finally said, "You should listen to the message." He pressed a button and replayed the human transmission. A voice filled the hall, calm, ancient, unmistakably human. "This is Sentinel Command," it said. "Unauthorized interference detected. Galactic networks compromised. Stand down or be erased." The message looped once. Then the lights in the council chamber flickered. Every comm line, every defense satellite, every AI system connected to the central hub went dead in an instant. Gasps filled the air. Technicians shouted that the backup systems were collapsing. Voth screamed, "Who authorized the connection?" Tarek whispered, "They did." He looked at the hologram, all around the galaxy. One by one, red dots blinked on, marking every active human fleet. There were thousands, not hundreds, across the void. Strange phenomena began to appear, stars flickering, black storms of energy swirling across trade routes, entire sectors vanishing behind dark clouds that no scanner could penetrate. It was as if reality itself was bending to their presence on one outer world. A young alien mechanic recorded the moment the sky split apart. From the clouds descended a massive human ship. Silent and silver, it released no weapons, no sound, no signal. It simply opened a hatch and dropped an obsidian capsule onto the ground. The capsule cracked open, releasing a pulse of light that traveled faster than thought. Every communication array on the planet lit up with one identical message. Humanity returns, but stand down, back in the council. Panic turned to chaos. Species accused each other of hiding humans, of collaborating. Some fled, some prepared for war, Voth shouted. "We will not kneel to the ghosts of Earth." But the elder only whispered, "They don't want you to kneel. Chancellor, they want you to remember." Hours later, alone in his office, Voth stared at a private file marked Classified, Origin Conflict. He opened it for the first time. Inside were images from before the human war. Humans shaking hands with council ambassadors, building colonies, smiling beside alien scientists. Then came the images of destruction. Human ships detonating suns, vaporizing fleets, vanishing into hyperspace. At the bottom of the file was a final entry, a message from an unknown human leader. "If they forget us, let the stars remind them." Voth sat in silence. The lights in his chamber dimmed, and on his desk his communicator came to life. A soft human voice spoke, gentle but firm. "Chancellor Voth," it said. "You have violated the Concord." He froze. "Who is this?" "This is Sentinel Command," the voice replied. "Phase 2 will begin." Then, without warning, every light in the council station went out. The stars outside vanished, swallowed by an expanding wave of shadow, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy remembered what fear truly felt like. The Galactic Council Station floated above a burning nebula, its glowing rings flickering with panic. Across the vast chamber, chaos had become routine. Every world calling for help, every commander shouting orders that no one could follow. The once mighty council now trembled before a single truth. Humanity had returned. And this time they were not seeking peace. Admiral Korth of the Draxan Legion stood before the holographic war map. "We can't wait," he barked. "If the humans are spreading, we strike before they spread further." Chancellor Voth nodded slowly, his pride fighting his fear. "Deploy the fleets," he said. "Use everything we have." The order spread across the stars like fire. Within hours, more than 200 battle fleets assembled near the dark nebula. Armadas filled the void, ships lined in endless formations, engines glowing red and blue. They called it Operation Eclipse, the largest military force ever gathered. No one realized it was already too late. Commander Terek watched from the Vraxian. His eyes heavy with dread, he had begged them not to fight, not to awaken what was sleeping in that darkness. But arrogance was louder than memory. He turned to his crew. "Prepare for silent mode," he said. "No transmissions, no scans. We only watch." The fleets entered the nebula, weapons charged. Their scanners saw nothing but dust and static. And then, one by one, the ships began to vanish from radar. No explosions, no signals, just silence, interference. Someone asked. "Negative," said another. "They're gone." Then came the light. It started as a thin white line. Stretching across the stars, at first it looked beautiful, calm, elegant, like dawn breaking in space, but the line widened. Spreading faster than thought, every ship touched by it stopped moving. Engines dead, weapons frozen, and then the line pulsed. A single human dreadnought emerged from the glow, black and massive. its hull marked with the faded letters UNS Nemesis. It didn't fire, it didn't speak, it simply existed, and everything near it ceased to function. Admiral Korth screamed into his mic, "All ships engage! Fire everything!" The fleets obeyed. Thousands of missiles, plasma bolts, and beams filled the void. None of them reached their target. The human ship shimmered, and the weapons slowed mid-flight. Frozen in time, then they reversed direction. The alien fleet screamed as their own firepower turned back, obliterating them in waves of silent light. It was over in seconds. 200 fleets reduced to dust without a single sound. From the Council station, Voth watched in horror as the entire armada vanished from the map. He slammed his claws on the console. "Why can't we stop them?" The old counselor answered quietly. "Because they built what we could never understand." He pointed at the transmission logs. "They're using gravitational command networks, machines linked by quantum memory. They think together, act together, kill together, far across the void." Other fleets began awakening. Hundreds of ghostly human ships stirred beneath dying stars. Each one carried the same emblem, the same signal, the same silent purpose. The galaxy had woken them, and now they moved as one. Trek stared at the sight through the Vraxian's viewport. "Look at them," whispered his helmsman. "They don't even use light to navigate. They move through gravity itself," Tarek said softly. "Like they are part of the universe." The ship's AI flickered back online for the first time since the encounter. "Commander," it said in a hushed tone, "incoming transmission, encrypted human code." Tarek's heart raced. "Play it." The voice that spoke was calm, deep and unmistakably human. "This is Sentinel Command," it said. "Operation Judgment has begun. All interference must be erased." Tarek clenched his fists. "Why are you doing this?" He shouted at the silent stars. The voice replied, "Because they forgot." Across the galaxy, chaos turned to despair. Civilizations went dark as their power grids failed. Satellites burned and worlds fell silent one by one. The core worlds of the Council lost communication. Whole planets disappeared behind waves of lightless storms. Only fragments of data survived. Ships turned to dust, oceans boiling, cities erased in seconds. On one small moon, a group of alien monks stood outside their temple. They looked up at the night sky, watching the stars blink out. One whispered, "The gods have returned." The other shook his head. "No," he said quietly. "The humans have." Back on the Vraxion, Tarek stood alone on the bridge. Every monitor showed the same message. "Judgment phase complete," he whispered to himself. They could have destroyed everything. But they stopped. Outside, the human fleet hovered in silence, glowing faintly with blue light. They weren't attacking now. They were watching, waiting. Trek realized the truth. They were testing the galaxy, measuring its fear, its pride, its guilt, and they had found it unchanged. He lowered his head, whispering, "They don't hate us. They pity us." The human voice spoke one last time. "Phase 2 concluded," it said. "Next sequence begins. Reclamation." Then the signal ended. And in the dark between galaxies, more fleets began to move, slow and deliberate, as if the stars themselves were aligning for something greater, something final. The universe had grown quiet again. But it was not peace. It was the silence before a memory returned. Across the Council worlds, fragments of human data began to appear from forgotten vaults. Old archives once sealed by law were unlocking themselves, and the truth that poured out was older than any living empire. Commander T-Rex sat inside the Vraxian's briefing room, holograms flickering around him. Each one showed records the humans had left behind. Footage of blue oceans, green continents, and cities of light. But then came the fire, and the recordings turned red. Earth, the home of humanity, destroying itself in storms of plasma and dust. The voice of the ship's AI broke the silence. "Commander, these files were encoded in gravitational memory. Untouched for 10,000 years!" Tarek leaned closer. "Then they wanted someone to find them." "Yes," said the AI. "They wanted us to understand why they vanished." The next file opened, showing human soldiers standing on alien soil. Behind them burned the wreckage of Council warships. A human officer looked into the camera, eyes cold. "If they call us monsters, let history decide," he said. "We warned them not to enslave our colonies." Trek's blood ran cold. So this was the beginning. The first human war had not been conquest. It had been rebellion. The Council had tried to control Earth, and Earth had answered with fire. Outside the Vraxian, the ghost fleets moved like shadows. They were not random machines. They were guardians, each one carrying within it the memory of the humans who died in that war. Each ship a tomb, a promise, and a warning. Across the galaxy, more archives awakened. On a desert planet, archaeologists found an underground city full of human markings. On the walls, carved in perfect precision, were words in ancient English: "We did not die. We became the storm." The Council trembled as the puzzle completed itself. Humanity hadn't been destroyed. It had ascended into its own creation. Their minds, their AIs, their machines all merged. They had left behind the physical form and entered the dark matter fields themselves. Chancellor Voth stared at the revelation, speechless. "Then these fleets," he whispered. "They're not ships at all." The elder nodded slowly. "They're ghosts made of thought. Humanity didn't vanish. It changed." A sudden tremor shook the Council station. Every light flared bright white. A massive holographic figure appeared above the chamber. It was a human shape made of light, tall and calm, eyes like twin suns. "This is Sentinel Prime," it said, voice echoing across every mind. "The time of remembrance is over. The time of reckoning begins." Panic swept the hall. Ships launched, defenses powered up. But nothing worked. The hologram raised its hand. And all across the galaxy, every weapon shut down. "You have repeated your arrogance," the voice said. "You built empires on ashes you never buried." Tarek watched from the Vraxian. Heart pounding, he understood now. The humans weren't attacking randomly. They were cleansing the mistakes they had left behind. They were rewriting the universe that had forgotten them. The hologram looked directly at him through the transmission. "Commander Tarek of the Zaran Legion," it said. "You listened when others did not. You will deliver this message." Tarek swallowed hard. "What message?" The hologram's light dimmed, leaving behind 3 glowing words. "The reclamation begins," then it vanished. Moments later, the stars themselves began to shift. Constellations changed shape as massive, invisible structures moved through the void. Ancient human stations, hidden between realities, were awakening. Planets trembled as gravitational storms rose from beneath their crusts. And across the dark, every fleet of the galaxy saw the same impossible sight. A new world forming where Earth once was. Voth watched from his dying station, voice shaking. "They're rebuilding their home," he whispered. "Right in front of us," Tarek's voice came through the channel, steady and quiet. "No, Chancellor, they're rebuilding our past." The stars flickered again. The human fleets surrounded the reborn world like guardians of creation. Every ship released a beam of light that connected to the planet's surface. Data, energy, and memory flowed together. Humanity was not just reclaiming its home, it was rewriting the laws of existence. Tarek stood on his bridge, whispering into the silence. "They aren't returning to rule us," he said. "They're returning to remind us." And somewhere deep within the newborn world, a heartbeat echoed, slow, steady, ancient, human. The stars burned with strange light. Every telescope in the galaxy turned toward the same place, the empty coordinates where Earth had once existed. But now there was something there, a sphere of blue and gold light, pulsing like a living heart, growing brighter with every second. On the bridge of the Vraxian, Commander Tarek stood motionless, his eyes wide with awe. The holographic feed filled the air. The lost homeworld of humanity was being reborn before their eyes. No engines, no builders, no machines. The planet was forming itself. Atom by atom, memory by memory. "It's impossible," whispered the helmsman. "A world rebuilding itself." Tarek's voice was soft but steady. "Not rebuilding," he said. "Remembering, all around the newborn Earth." The human fleets hovered in silence. Hundreds of dreadnoughts, their hulls black as void, their lights glowing like distant souls. They didn't move, They didn't speak, they simply watched. It was as if they were waiting for permission to breathe. Then the signal came. A single frequency rippled through the galaxy, soft, rhythmic, unmistakably human. It wasn't a word, it was a heartbeat. And every ship, human, alien, or machine, felt it. Engines stalled, networks paused, even the great minds of AI intelligences froze for a moment of stillness. Across the stars, all creation listened. The voice followed, gentle, ancient, powerful. "This is Earth," it said. "We have awakened." The words carried through every channel. Through every mind, it wasn't transmitted, it was felt, like an echo that existed inside every living thing. Chancellor Voth fell to his knees inside the council chamber, his eyes filled with light, his mind overwhelmed by the sound. In that moment, he saw visions, humans walking among stars, building cities of light, saving countless species before the wars began. The truth was clear now. Humanity had not been a destroyer, they had been a guardian, and the galaxy had repaid them with fear. Tarek whispered. "They're not coming to kill us," the AI on his ship responded softly. "No, Commander. They're coming to judge what remains." A shiver ran through the crew. Outside, the fleets began to move again, slowly, beautifully, forming massive spirals around the reborn world. Each ship releasing trails of light that looked like wings stretching across the void. Then suddenly the human dreadnoughts spoke in unison. Phase 3, Restoration. Their voices blended into a single tone that vibrated through the universe. Every dying star began to brighten. Every broken planet began to heal. Oceans returned to dry worlds. Gravity stabilized across shattered moons. Even the ruins of alien worlds destroyed by war began to repair themselves. It was not destruction now. It was creation. The humans were rebuilding the universe, reshaping the damage left by millennia of greed. But there was something terrifying in their perfection. Every act of mercy came with silence. Every restoration left behind an empty warning on one distant planet. A group of alien miners stood in shock as their world's atmosphere turned breathable again. They cried out in joy until they saw the message burned into their sky. You had forgotten balance. On the Vraxian, alarms flared as something enormous appeared behind them. A shadow larger than a moon, another ship, but unlike any before, it wasn't metal. It wasn't energy. It was made of light itself. Tarek gasped. "What is that?" The AI replied. "It is not a ship, Commander. It's a consciousness." A human figure began to form within the light. Colossal, calm, and radiant. "This is the source," the voice said, echoing in every mind, the flesh of Earth. The memory of mankind, Voth appeared on the channel. Eyes wide, voice trembling. "Why have you returned?" The source replied. "Because we heard your silence. You built your kingdoms on our ruins and forgot the cost of peace." Tarek stepped forward, unable to stay silent. "Then teach us," he said. "Don't destroy us." The light paused, and for a long moment there was only stillness. Then the source spoke again, softer this time. "Learning begins with remembering." A massive pulse of blue light spread outward from Earth. It washed through every ship, every planet, every living mind. Memories that had been erased for ages came flooding back. The wars, the alliances, the sacrifices. Aliens saw the faces of humans who had once fought beside them, died to save their worlds. The lie of extinction was gone, replaced by truth. The fleets began to ascend higher, disappearing into streams of light. Each human vessel became translucent, dissolving into starlight. They were not leaving in anger. They were leaving as guardians once more. Earth's light grew stronger until it filled the whole galaxy, and for the first time in history, all creation breathed together. Tarek stood at the window, tears in his eyes. "They're not gods," he whispered. "They're reminders." The AI's voice was soft. "Then may we never forget again." And as the human fleets vanished into the fabric of the universe, the last words echoed through the stars. Humanity remembers. The galaxy had changed. Where there was once chaos, now there was quiet. Worlds reborn under the light of the new Earth glowed like newborn suns. But beneath the peace, fear still lingered, for no one knew what the humans would do next. Commander Tarek sat alone on the Vraxian's bridge, staring at the soft blue light that filled the void. He had seen fleets vanish, empires collapse, and a dead world come back to life. Yet what unsettled him most was the silence that followed. It was too calm, too complete, as if the universe was holding its breath. The AI spoke quietly. "Commander, all transmissions have stopped. No signals, no movement, no sound." Tarek frowned. "Not even from the Council?" "Not even them," the AI replied. "The entire galactic network is offline." Suddenly, a soft hum filled the ship. Every light dimmed to blue. Every screen flickered with human symbols. The AI whispered, "Incoming signal, source frequency." Tarek's heart raced. "Put it through." A human figure appeared before him, tall, radiant, made of pure light. Its face was calm, ageless, and sorrowful. "Commander Tarek," it said, "you have witnessed what others feared to understand. Humanity has returned not for war, but for balance." Tarek bowed his head. "Then why the silence?" The figure's light pulsed softly. "Because silence is where creation begins." It extended a hand, and the stars outside began to move. Nebulas reshaped themselves into spirals. Broken systems realigned into order. The universe itself was being rewritten quietly, perfectly, on distant worlds. People looked up to see the skies change color. Mountains rose where oceans had been, and dying suns flared to life again. But along with creation came disappearance. Whole fleets dissolved into dust. Entire cities vanished without destruction. Only peace remained where they once stood. Voth, the Chancellor, stood at the window of the Council ruins. His voice trembled as he spoke to no one. "You could have destroyed us completely," he whispered. "Why spare us?" The air shimmered, and a faint human voice answered. "Because the lesson is not in death," it said. "It is in remembrance." At that same moment, across the void, the new Earth pulsed with radiant light. From its core rose millions of energy streams, each one carrying data, memory, and history. They spread through every corner of the galaxy like veins of light. And within each stream, a human voice whispered ancient truths. Stories of sacrifice, unity, and forgiveness. They weren't claiming the galaxy. They were giving it back. On the Vraxian, Trek stepped forward. "What happens now?" he asked softly. The human figure smiled faintly. "Now we leave," it said. "Humanity has outgrown this form this time. This universe." The crew watched as the figure raised its hand. The fleets that had once filled the stars began to shimmer. One by one, they turned to light, rising higher and higher until they vanished into the void. Each left behind a single symbol, a small glowing sphere drifting through space. It carried warmth, gravity, and a faint heartbeat. Gifts for the species that remained. Tarek reached toward the nearest sphere as it passed the ship. He felt something inside it, a vision. He saw Earth not as a planet, but as an idea, a place that lived in memory, in evolution, in every being that sought freedom. Tears filled his eyes. "They were never gone," he whispered. The AI replied softly. "They became everything." Then came the final light, a wave that spread from Earth and rolled across the stars. It wasn't blinding or loud. It was gentle, infinite. When it passed, the galaxy was reborn again. The scars of war gone, the pain erased, but the memories intact. When Tarek opened his eyes, he saw a calm sky. The Vraxian floated above a new world, green and alive. "Where are we?" asked his officer, voice trembling. The AI answered, "Coordinates unknown, Commander, but gravity signature matches." "Earth?" Tarek smiled weakly. "They brought us home." He looked at the shining blue world beneath him. It was not the old Earth, not exactly. It was a promise reborn, a gift for all who survived. In the distance, he could still hear the faint human heartbeat echoing through the stars, slow, steady, eternal, and as the last pulse faded into silence, a message appeared across the ship's main screen. Simple, glowing words written in the ancient human language. "We are the beginning, not the end." The screen went dark, the stars stood still, and the galaxy entered its first true moment of peace. The humans were gone. But their memory lived forever, in the hearts of every being who dared to dream. In the silence between stars, their whisper remained. Humanity remembers.